Mase just lit the entire hip-hop world on fire. No warning, no filter, no mercy. In a move that no one saw coming, especially not Jim Jones, Mase took to the mic. The internet and every back-channel source he had to drop a bomb so devastating, so soul-crushing that the entire rap game froze in disbelief. But wait, this isn't just a diss track. This isn't just petty beef. This is vengeance, decades in the making. Because Mase didn't just come for Jim's reputation. He came for his life story, his past. The one secret Jim swore would never see the light of day. And now, it's out, and it's uglier than anyone imagined. And what triggered this atomic meltdown? Pusha T. Because just days ago, Pusha didn't just throw shade, he buried Jim Jones alive. Bar after bar, Pusha carved up Jim's legacy, left his reputation in ruins, and walked away without a scratch. And instead of defending himself, Jim Jones crumbled, silent, shattered. And when the dust settled, Mase stepped in not to save him, but to finish him. What Mase just revealed goes beyond rap. We're talking family betrayal, street-level lies, blood money, cover-ups, leaked documents, alleged crimes, and a twisted connection to a scandal so deep the industry's been whispering about it for years but never had proof. Until now, this is more than beef. This is war. And by the time you hear what Mase just exposed, you'll never look at Jim Jones the same again, because the real story. It was never about Pusha T. The real story is what Mase knew all along. And now he's finally telling it. What did Mase find? Why did he wait until now? And how does it connect to a buried chapter in Jim Jones' past that he spent his entire career hiding? Stay with me, because what happens next will leave you absolutely speechless. Let's rewind this chaos before the detonation. To truly grasp why Mase's revelation is tearing the industry apart, we need to go way back to when Jim Jones was just another Harlem hustler trying to claw his way to the top. And Mase was already sitting at the throne, long before the flashy chains, Dipset anthems, and love and hip-hop fame. Jim was desperate for recognition. And it was Mase gave him his first real shot. Back in the early 90s, when Harlem's underground scene was a battlefield, Mase and Cam'ron were already the golden boys, lighting up the streets with their wordplay and swagger. Jim, he was just a hanger-on, a background figure, an errand boy for the stars. Insiders claim Mase once vouched for Jim when no one else would. He brought him into rooms he had no business being in. Studio sessions, video sets, tour buses. And according to leaked text convos from one former Bad Boy affiliate, Mase allegedly told execs, "Let him run with us. He'll learn. He'll grow." That's how deep their connection went. Mase wasn't just a peer, he was a mentor. But then came the betrayal. Because just as Mase started stepping back from the limelight, walking away from fame, the money, the streets, Jim Jones was on the rise. And not quietly. He was loud, abrasive, and ready to take Harlem by storm. He aligned with Cam'ron, locked in with Dipset, and suddenly it was like Mase never existed. Jim started throwing shots in interviews, subliminals in lyrics, and the worst part? He mocked Mase's decision to turn spiritual and leave the street life behind. In a now-deleted 2006 radio interview, Jim said, "Some people preach because they're scared to go back to the hood. But I'm still here. I run the hood." The message was clear. Mase was soft, out of touch, and irrelevant. But what no one realized back then was that Mase was watching, taking notes, and building a vault of secrets, one he'd never open, until the day Jim made the wrong move. And that move came in 2023. When Jim Jones foolishly inserted himself into a lyrical war with Pusha T, one of the most calculated, savage lyricists alive. On a random morning podcast, Jim laughed off Pusha's GOAT status, saying he ain't even top 50. What's he really done solo? It was meant to be a quick jab. Instead, it ignited the fire of 1,000 verses. Pusha responded with venom. Within a week, he dropped a freestyle so cold, so direct, it had social media in meltdown. He didn't just come for Jim's career, he dissected it. Bar by bar, tweet by tweet. He mocked his discography, questioned his influence, even threw subtle shade about Jim's alleged ties to questionable street dealings that have never been publicly addressed. Suddenly, Jim was silent. No diss track. No comeback. No rebuttal. That silence. It was deafening, and that's when Mase struck. He posted a cryptic video to Instagram Live. No background music. No flashy effects. Just a cold stare and 5 chilling words. I warned you. Now watch. What followed wasn't a diss. It was a confession. A confession of what Mase claims he's been hiding for over 20 years. About what really happened in those early Harlem days. About the one decision Jim made, the one that allegedly sold out a friend, led to a cover-up, and destroyed a life. One that, according to Mase, never should have been forgiven. And in the next 24 hours, everything unraveled. The moment Mase's video hit the internet, chaos erupted. Within minutes, hashtags like #JimJones exposed and #Mase knows everything began trending worldwide. Fans were confused. The industry was silent. And Jim, nowhere to be found. But then came the documents, leaked by a burner Twitter account with 0 followers and a bio that read, "I've waited 15 years to tell the truth." A thread dropped that sent shockwaves through every corner of hip-hop. The first tweet simply said, "Jim Jones made a deal, and someone paid the price." Attached was a blurry image of what looked like a police intake form from the late 90s. The name on the top. Not Jim Jones, but someone very close to him, old associate. Long thought to have vanished under mysterious circumstances, Mase jumped on the thread within minutes. He replied with a single word, "Exactly." Fans lost their minds. The thread continued, revealing what it claimed were redacted files detailing a secret arrest tied to a botched robbery in Harlem. The story went like this. Jim and his crew were allegedly involved in a street-level operation gone wrong. A deal that was never supposed to be violent turned into something far bloodier. One person got arrested. One person got away. And the one who disappeared was rumored to have taken the fall for Jimby because someone tipped off the cops before it all went down. And now, according to Mase, that someone was Jim Jones. On a follow-up IG Live, Mase didn't hold back. He looked straight into the camera and said, "You left that man to rot. And you walked free, smiling, rapping about loyalty and family. You're a fraud, and the streets know it." He then played an unreleased voicemail recording allegedly from that same associate's mother. Her voice, broken with grief, accused Jim of betrayal. "You know what you did. Jimmy, you know you ain't show up to the trial. You know who made that call? And God don't sleep." He then played a voice note anonymous. Scrambled, but the speaker's voice hinted at someone who had once been close to both Mase and Jim. The voice said, "He sold his soul for a Rolex and a record deal, and someone died to make it happen. Ask Jimmy about 99. Ask him why he panicked when the feds came knocking in 03. Ask him who disappeared." This was no longer just about hip-hop beef. It was beginning to sound like a conspiracy that spanned decades with industry ties, street allegiances, and possibly criminal implications. Within hours, dozens of blogs jumped on the story. YouTubers went live. Podcasts broke it down. And a now viral TikTok surfaced of a former bodyguard for a Harlem artist claiming he remembered exactly what happened during that time. We was told to keep it quiet. They paid us off. But people were scared. Jimmy got that deal overnight. Money came fast. But the guilt that never left. Fans started connecting dots in ways no one expected. Photos from old sessions. Who was present? Who vanished after 2001? Who never got signed despite being more talented? Even Cameron. Long considered Jim's ride or die, dropped a cryptic tweet. Funny how truth echoes louder when the mic drops. Hashtag stay woke. Now the industry was split. Some claimed Mase was clout chasing, bitter about his fall from grace. Others said this was justice long overdue. But the most chilling moment came when an old interview resurfaced Jim Jones, 2004, on a late-night radio show. When asked about his meteoric rise, he nervously laughed and said, "Sometimes blessings come at a price. But I paid mine in full." That quote. It's now being dissected, frame by frame, word by word. Because if what Mase is saying is true, that price wasn't money. And the person who paid it may never come home, but just when you thought that was the end, Mase posted one final teaser. A grainy still frame from what appears to be an unreleased security camera video. Timestamp: August 1999. Location: Harlem. The caption: "They buried more than just the truth." What's in that video? Who else knew? And how deep does this go? The real storm hadn't even started yet. Within hours of that mysterious image hitting Mase's feed, Twitter was an absolute meltdown. Buried more than just the truth. What did that mean? Was this a hint at a literal crime? A missing person? A body? Conspiracy threads exploded. One Navril post featured an old newspaper clipping from August 1999, reporting a late-night fire in an abandoned Harlem building fire. That, at the time, was labeled accidental. But under that article, in the smallest font, was a chilling detail. One unidentified male believed to have been on site. No remains recovered. Investigation closed due to lack of evidence. The date matched the timestamp from Mase's photo. Coincidence? Or cover-up? Suddenly, this wasn't just about Jim Jones' reputation. It was about whether someone had disappeared, possibly died, and it was swept under the rug to protect a rising star. Mase returned to IG Live with a dark, furious tone unlike anything before. His face was serious. He didn't blink. And then he said, "Y'all keep thinking this is rap beef. This is justice. This man made his fame off lies, off betrayal, and off someone's life. I stayed quiet. I let him cook, but now I'm opening every door. I've got tapes. I've got names. I've got addresses. And if they push me again," Ali released the full video. The comment section was chaos. Drop IT. Is this about who I think it is? Yo, is Jimmy even safe right now? But the biggest moment came when a former Dipset road manager took to Clubhouse and admitted live, in front of thousands, that there had always been whispers about that night in '99, and worse. He claimed Jim once confessed during a drunken tour night that if the truth ever got out, everything would be over. But Jim Jones still hadn't spoken. No statement. No denial. Not a single syllable. His team was completely silent. No PR spin. No media rebuttal. Just pure, eerie stillness. Meanwhile, Pusha T, having already torched Jim's credibility, musically added fuel to the fire. In a bold Instagram story, he posted a clip of a gravestone being washed in the rain, overlaid with the words, "Some truths drown. Others float, and some, they rise from the ashes." This line sent the internet into theory overload. Fans scoured Harlem street forums. Redditors posted timelines. Even documentary-style YouTube videos started appearing, diving into the lost figure of 99, now believed by many to be the person Mase was hinting about. And according to multiple unofficial sources, there were tapes from a closed investigation, the same ones. Mase claims to now have possession of. One anonymous blogger posted this cryptic message: they paid to make it vanish. But the payment bounced. And now the ghosts are talking. And just when it couldn't get more intense, another twist emerged. A second burner account popped up, posting a blurred-out image of a man's face, someone who bore an eerie resemblance to the supposedly disappeared associate. The caption: "He's alive, and he's ready to talk." Was this real? A hoax? A scare tactic? Mase didn't deny it. In fact, he reposted the image with a simple quote, "Harlem never forgets." At this point, every podcast, blog, and outlet was begging for an interview. Who is this man? Where has he been? And why is he coming forward now? One thing was clear: if this person was the associate from that fateful night, and he did survive, then everything Mase said wasn't just emotional lit, was factual and Jim. His silence was becoming an admission, because now it wasn't just about what happened in the past, it was about what was coming next. 3 days after the "he's alive" image surfaced, the internet held its collective breath, and then, without warning, a voice recording leaked. It was grainy, distorted, unverified. But the voice, it shook everyone, because it sounded eerily like the man everyone thought had vanished in 1999. The man Mase accused Jim of betraying. The man whose alleged disappearance had become the core of this unfolding horror story. And what he said? "They tried to erase me. They gave me money to disappear. But now I want the world to know what Jimmy did." Within minutes, the clip went viral. News sites scrambled. Commentators were stunned. Even mainstream outlets like TMZ and The Shade Room picked up the story, with one headline screaming, "Missing Harlem Associate returns from dead to destroy Jim Jones." In the audio, the voice detailed a chilling account of what happened on that fateful August night. How a small-time job spiraled out of control. How someone made a call before it even began. And how cops were already waiting at the scene. He claimed he escaped the fire with burns, fled Harlem with help from one man, and had been in hiding ever since out of fear. And that man who helped him disappear? Mase. The revelation was explosive. Mase hadn't just been watching Jim from a distance, he had been protecting the one person who could bury him. In his next live, Mase looked haunted. Not victorious. Not arrogant. Haunted. Y'all wanted to know why I stayed quiet. It's because if I said something back then, he'd be dead. Real talk, I gave him a chance to do right. He never took it. Instead, he built his empire off lies. He looked me in the face and swore it never happened. But now the streets will judge him. And then, without warning, Cameron broke his silence. On his podcast, he dropped the nuclear bomb no one saw coming. His words? "I tried to tell Jimmy not to mess with Pusha. I told him not to push Mase. He didn't listen. And now, I seen that contract. I knew about the deal. I knew. But I kept quiet because I didn't think it'd come back. But guess what? It's back, and it's hungry." Fans couldn't believe it. Cam Dipset's general had confirmed he knew about the shady contract. The real source of Jim's rise. The one tied to the mysterious associate who vanished in '99. It was over, or so we thought. Because, just as the internet crowned Mase victorious and Jim destroyed, a new video leaked. Footage from a prison interview dated, and in the clip, the interviewer asked, "Did Jim Jones ever work with you or your crew?" Snipe paused, smiled, then said, "Nah, Jimmy ain't work with us. He worked for us. For a long time. And the day we asked him to make good on his debt, he ran to the cops instead. That was it. The final nail. Jim Jones wasn't just accused of betrayal. He was now being called a rat. And in street culture, that's unforgivable. Mase took to Instagram for what he called his final message. He looked dead serious. "This ain't about beef no more. This is about truth. You lied, you used people. And when things got real folded, but the world knows now. I don't need to say anything else. Karma's already at your door." And as if on cue, Jim finally broke his silence. One tweet. Just one. "If I go down, I'm taking everyone with me." The internet went silent. What did that mean? Who's everyone? Are more names involved? Was this the start of something even bigger? The story wasn't just about Jim Jones anymore. It was about how deep this rot went. The moment Jim's tweet hit the timeline, "If I go down, I'm taking everyone with me," the hip-hop world went into a state of pure panic. Not suspense, not drama. Panic because suddenly, everyone who had ever stood beside Jim, every collaborator, every executive, every street name even whispered in connection to him, was now a potential target in the fallout. And just like that, the narrative turned dark. Not theatrical, not entertaining. Dark. Within 12 hours of that tweet, 3 prominent Harlem artists deactivated their accounts. A Dipset producer scrubbed his Instagram. An Atlantic Records A&R long rumored to have brokered Jim's original deal deleted every post from 2001 to 2005. And a gossip blog claimed that a sealed indictment involving laundering, bribery, and perjury might soon be reopened thanks to newly surfaced evidence. And who was handing that evidence over? Mase. In what can only be described as a calculated masterstroke, Mase dropped a statement via a private Discord server filled with industry insiders, verified journalists, and anonymous accounts. His words were direct, raw, and deeply personal. "I held this truth for 20 years. I begged the man to make it right. I begged him to speak to the mother of the one he left behind. He refused. So I brought the truth to the streets. Now the law's picking it up. Don't blame me. Blame the choices that brought you here." And then he vanished. No more posts. No more lives. No more replies. Gone. That silence became the loudest scream in the room, and while fans were still trying to recover, the final twist shattered whatever was left of Jim's fragile reputation. An anonymous Dropbox link began circulating in private rap forums. The folder, titled "Only God Can Judge Confession Files." Inside, dozens of MP3 South screenshots, scanned notebooks, and most a Minja full-length audio recording labeled The Truth Unreleased 2002. The voice? Jim Jones. The recording sounded like a personal diary. It was dated. It was raw. It was desperate. In it, Jim can be heard talking to himself, venting in a hotel room after a 2002 Dipset show. And at the 7:44 mark, he said the words that ended any chance of recovery. "I ain't proud of how I got here. I left my brother behind. I ain't saying nothing at the trial. I let Mase take the heat. I let him disappear, the boy. I thought money would fix it. But I still see that night every time I close my eyes." That was it. He admitted it in his own voice. And when the clip hit YouTube, millions watched it within hours. Thousands commented. No one defended him. Not even the most loyal Dipset fans. The betrayal wasn't just real, it was recorded now. Jim's label is rumored to be terminating his contract. Brand deals have pulled out. Festival lineups are quietly adjusting. Club promoters in Harlem say he's no longer welcome, and that disappeared associate. He's reportedly entered witness protection. The streets are quiet now. Too quiet, because if Jim makes good on his threat, if he truly plans to take everyone with him, then this scandal is only beginning. And if the rumors about that sealed indictment are true, this won't be the end of Jim Jones. It'll be the collapse of an entire corner of the industry. So we're left with one burning question. What else does Mase know? And why hasn't he said it yet? Social media has turned into an outright war zone. On one side, you've got fans screaming that Jim Jones is finished, dead man walking. One Twitter user wrote, attaching an edit of his past music videos over sad violin music. On the other side, a growing faction that believes Mase went too far. Some are calling him the Angel of Vengeance. Others, a bitter relic from the past who couldn't let go. But the truth is, Mase didn't just expose Jim. He rattled the foundations of what we thought we knew about Harlem's golden era. Now, everything feels tainted. Every verse, every anthem, every story from those Dipset documentaries fans loved for years. People are replaying old interviews, dissecting old tweets, even rewatching old Love and Hip Hop episodes for hidden clues, suspicious behavior, anything that might have been in plain sight all along. And then came the celebrities in a now-deleted tweet. Meek Mill wrote, "If half of what they say am true, Jim got some explaining to do. Loyalty greater than fame. Always, Cardi B, who has roots in Harlem herself, reposted Mase's clip and added, the truth don't always come when we want it, but it always shows up. Even Fat Joe weighed in during a podcast appearance. I've known both them brothers for decades. This goes deeper than rap beef. This is real Harlem history, and it's UGLY. But one comment shook the fanbase to its core. A private Discord message from a well-known label executive screen-shotted and leaked tweet. We always knew the Jimmy files were time bombs. Can't believe they're finally going off. Fans are now questioning how many other Jimmy files are still buried. What did the labels cover up? What did the industry ignore? And most importantly, who else knew? Some are now turning on Dipset as a whole. Joel Santana, normally quiet and low-key, was ambushed in a live stream by angry fans. Comments were filled with, "You knew. You signed off on this. What else are you hiding?" Even Cameron, despite being the first to hint at knowing the truth, is now being pressed about why he didn't come forward sooner, in a TikTok that now has 6.3 million views. A popular influencer ranted, "Y'all worshipped the lifestyle, the music, the image, and the whole time. It was built on silence, betrayal, and one man's destruction. They all let it happen, and the final straw." A Change.org petition now exists, demanding the cancellation of all future Jim Jones performances and public appearances. It already has 112,000 signatures. Jim, meanwhile, is still tweeting cryptically. One tweet simply read, "Loyalty is a two-way street. Remember that before the tapes drop. Tapes. More tapes." Is Jim bluffing? Or does he really have files of his own dirt on others? The music industry has gone full lockdown. PR teams are working overtime. Lawyers are being pulled from vacations. And behind the scenes, whispers of another figure being dragged into the mess are growing louder. Someone, even more famous. This isn't just Jim's fall. It's looking like the beginning of a much bigger collapse. And Mase, he hasn't posted in 2 days. Which in this context is absolutely terrifying. Just when it felt like the drama couldn't possibly escalate any further. An anonymous Twitter user using the handle @truth_unseen_01 dropped a cryptic teaser that changed the game again. It was a short 8-second audio clip, no context, no caption, just a voice muffled, raspy, and almost unrecognizable saying, "Mase wasn't the only one Jimmy betrayed. There's another, and she's ready to talk." The internet went wild. Immediately, fans began speculating. Who's she? Was it a past collaborator? A family member? An ex-lover? Someone from Dipset's early days? And then, the leaks began again. A second audio clip surfaced. This time, the voice was clear. A woman, sounding angry and exhausted, said, "He told me to keep my mouth shut or I'd end up like Marcus." He said the money was worth the silence. But I kept everything: texts, voicemails, bank receipts. If this is my moment, then I'm taking it. Jimmy doesn't get to win anymore. That name, again, Marcus. The man who supposedly disappeared in 1999. The same man who recently re-emerged. And now we had confirmation. He wasn't the only one silenced. Reddit detectives went into overdrive. They tracked down a woman who was allegedly part of Dipset's original street team, a background figure who was often in early photos but vanished from the public eye after 2003. Her name, Vanessa V. Larone. Suddenly, her name was trending worldwide, and Mase. He returned to Instagram for the first time in days, reposting a 2002 photo of V and Jimmy at an event. Arm in arm, captioned, "The second piece of the puzzle." She kept quiet. Until now, within hours. An entire interview dropped on a major gossip podcast where V face blurred. Voice disguised laid out a narrative so shocking it silenced even the loudest skeptics. She claimed she was present the night of the 1999 fire. She claimed Jim made the call to tip off the cops. She claimed Mase begged him to undo it before it was too late, and most damning of all, she claimed Marcus wasn't supposed to survive. They thought he'd burn. That's why they left him. Jimmy made sure the back door was locked. That's why Mase snapped. That's why he walked away from the industry. It wasn't about God, it was guilt. The revelation that Mase's exit from music was tied to a secret cover-up and not just spiritual awakening shattered fans emotionally. Suddenly, everything Mase had done since 2000, his preaching, his silence, his brief comebacks, was reinterpreted as the actions of a man haunted by a secret too dark to say out loud, and it all tied back to Jim Jones. Industry sources now say multiple federal agencies are reviewing the 1999 fire as a possible homicide attempt. The case was closed 2 decades ago, but with new witness testimony, leaked recordings, and mounting public pressure, may now be reopened in a desperate attempt to take control of the narrative. Jim posted a cryptic Instagram story. "Y'all believe a ghost, a preacher, and a bitter ex. LOL. This story ain't finished. Y'all forgot who I am," but the internet wasn't laughing. Because just hours after that post, a new document dropped on Pastebin, a non-disclosure agreement allegedly signed by V in 2003. It detailed hush money payments, conditions for silence, and a threat clause that made fans' blood run cold. Any breach will be considered hostile. Protection can't be guaranteed. This wasn't a rap beef anymore. It was organized silence, and the deeper fans looked, the more they found. Whispered names, strange disappearances, broken partnerships, forgotten artists. One blog even published a full Dipset victim map, a literal chart, connecting every artist or associate who mysteriously vanished, got blackballed, or suffered an unexplained setback. And at the center of every line, Jim Jones. The question now wasn't whether Jim had betrayed someone, it was how many, and who was next to speak. Because the silence around him is cracking, and the voices are rising. Then came the moment that blew the lid completely off the story. A full-length documentary titled Harlem's Secret. The Price of Loyalty was uploaded anonymously to Vimeo and re-uploaded to YouTube by dozens of users within minutes. It was gritty, cinematic, and terrifyingly detailed. Nearly 38 minutes long, it featured distorted interviews, redacted documents, blurred faces, and an unseen narrator with a voice dripping with accusation. And at the 27-minute mark came the footage. The same surveillance video Mase had teased days earlier. The timestamp read, August 14th, 1999 to 13 a.m. The location, a burned-out Harlem Brownstone, now known as the site of the accidental fire. The footage showed 3 figures entering the back alley, one matching the silhouette of Jim Jones, one smaller, believed to be Marcus. The third was never identified, but here's where the world stopped breathing. At 2:27 a.m., just before the fire started, the video clearly shows one man leaving alone. Not in a rush, not in panic.com. He glances at the camera once. He puts on a who, at, and he walks away. That man, based on body type, walk, and time stamp, was almost certainly Jim Jones. The narrator's voice returned, and that's when the house burned. The same minute the door was locked. The same minute Marcus vanished. This wasn't conspiracy anymore. It was visual evidence. Immediately, every media outlet, credible or not, went into overdrive. Jim Jones caught on tape. Attempted murder or industry setup. Mase was right the whole time. And then, from the shadows of it all, another voice emerged in the final 5 minutes of the documentary. A familiar face appeared. The real Marcus, older, scarred, but alive. His face no longer hidden. His voice steady and unflinching. I've lived in fear for over 20 years. I watched him get rich off my silence. I watched him build an empire on betrayal. I begged for justice, and they laughed at me.